So I'm sure that by now you've probably seen quite a few comparisons on YouTube between the Lincoln Navigator and the Cadillac Escalade. But what makes this video different is that this Escalade has a diesel engine under the hood. So does that help it or hamper it against the Lincoln Navigator? Well, let's go for a drive and find out. So under the hood of this Cadillac Escalade is a 3-liter Duramax turbo diesel inline-6 engine. It produces 277 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. The engine is very smooth, and for a diesel, it's actually really responsive. It actually has the exact same torque as the 6.2-liter V8 that you can also get in the Cadillac Escalade, but of course it doesn't have the same horsepower. The V8 has 420 horsepower. So of course it is a little bit slower. But the main reason why you would consider this diesel over the V8 is of course fuel economy. With the Duramax diesel engine, the Cadillac Escalade is rated for 12 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 8.9 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. By comparison, the Lincoln Navigator can only achieve a rating of 15 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 11.5 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Both of these figures are with the 4x4 drivetrain. But while this isn't as fuel efficient, it is more powerful. Under the hood of this Lincoln Navigator is a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine. It produces 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. And even though this Navigator weighs so much, it actually feels very effortless. I never noticed the RPMs climbing beyond 2,000, whether it's accelerating from a stop or just overtaking another vehicle on a highway. So between these two luxury barges, this one is definitely faster in a straight line. But as for the rest of the driving dynamics, both of them have 10-speed automatics and both of them are very, very smooth. If anything, I'd say that the programming in the Cadillac's transmission is a little bit better because after second or third gear, you don't even feel the shifts. As for stopping and going around corners, well, they are, again, luxury barges, so it does take a little while for them to slow down, and they do, of course, roll around corners. But between the two, the brakes are just that much sharper in the Cadillac Escalade, and it limits body roll just that much more. So for a driver's vehicle, the Cadillac Escalade is definitely the better one out of these two. Driving on city streets or on highways in these two barges is very comfortable. Both of them do a fantastic job of absorbing bumps and providing a very, very smooth ride. However, there is a difference. In the Lincoln, it takes a while for the suspension to settle the body if you drive over a particularly bad bump. In this Cadillac Escalade, the shocks respond much more quickly to iron out that bump and to really settle the body. So it doesn't bounce quite as much as it does in the Lincoln. Well, when I say bounce, it's nothing too serious, but you do notice it driving between the two cars. As for interior noises, both of them are really good at providing a very insulated cabin. Wind and road noise are pretty much negligible. The difference is though that with this diesel engine, there is a little bit more noise when you accelerate or when you're overtaking someone on a highway. It's not too bad, but you do notice it. Okay, now let's take a look at the inside of these luxury SUVs. Starting with the interior of the Lincoln Navigator, it looks traditional and classic, but it's very luxurious. So there's leather pretty much everywhere that you look. Dashboard, on the top, in the middle, on the bottom of the center console, obviously the seats, door panels, just soft, nice to touch leather everywhere. And there's also wood trim right here on the center console, as well as the doors and across the dashboard. The infotainment system in the Lincoln Navigator is the old Sync 3 infotainment system with a 10-inch touchscreen. I should point out that for the 2022 model year, it will receive Sync 4 infotainment system as well as a 13.2-inch touchscreen, if I remember correctly. This is a 2021 model year Navigator. It'll also have wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and Active Glide, which is Lincoln's version of Super Cruise. More on that a little bit later in the video. But the Sync 3 infotainment system works. It's not quite as fast as Sync 4. I have tried it in the Ford F-150 Power Boost. If you want to see a review of that, just click up here. But it works. Underneath it, you'll find a separating center console. So there's like a little gap right here between the gear selector buttons and the actual center console. It gives it a sort of a floating design, and there's quite a lot of space underneath. As for interior space, for my 6'4" stature, I have no issues. Legroom, headroom, plenty of it. These particular seats, they are comfortable, but if you watch my previous videos on Lincoln seats, you'll know that I'm not quite the biggest fan of these 30-way perfect position seats. I always feel like they're a bit too finicky. I can never find the perfect position, for lack of a better term, for my body type. It might be different for you, so just try them out when you're at the Lincoln dealership. Try a vehicle with these seats and one without it and see which one is better for you. But personally, for me, I'd rather stick to the standard seats rather than these 30-way seats. But again, that's just me. Anyway, in the front, that's about it. Plenty of space, plenty of light too with this nice white, creamy color leather. Anyway, let's go check out the back now. In the second row, the Navigator has a tiny bit more passenger space than in the Escalade. This particular demo vehicle came equipped with the captain's chairs that can slide forwards and backwards as well as recline. The optional center console has a deep storage area in it as well as underneath it, cup holders, and it has a little screen with controls for the radio. Getting into the third row is super easy. There's a button next to the second row seat which tilts it forward and provides a large pass-through. With the second row seat in its most rearward position, the Navigator still has more legroom in the third row than the Escalade. There's also a couple of buttons to either side which will let you electronically recline the third row seats. Inside the Escalade, it is very modern and contemporary looking, but obviously the big centerpiece is this new curved screen, which actually consists of two screens. So on the center portion is your touchscreen and infotainment system, which then wraps around to the other side of the steering wheel, and you have a trip computer or different selections for your instrument display. And yes, this second screen is your instrument display and it's not a touchscreen. It's all very clear and very crisp and just astonishing to look at, really. As for the rest of the interior, it has leather everywhere you touch, on the dashboard, center console, door panels, and obviously the seats. It also has wood trim on this particular vehicle, but it's not open pore like in the Lincoln Navigator, but it still looks really nice. One thing I should mention with both the Escalade as well as the Navigator, is that they both have really thick A-pillars and B-pillars. So visibility out the front and through the side windows is good, but just be aware of the thick pillars. However, they both are equipped with blind spot sensors. As for interior space in this Escalade, 6'4" of me has absolutely no issues. Headroom, legroom, not a problem whatsoever. These seats are comfortable, but obviously they don't have quite as much adjustment as the Lincoln Navigator. However, they are heated, ventilated, and massaging, just like in the Navigator. And yeah, that's about it for the front. Let's go check out the back. This particular demo had the bench seats in the second row, but you can get the Escalade with captain's chairs. Legroom and headroom in the second row of the Cadillac is not quite as much as in the Lincoln, but there's still enough for tall adults. This Escalade also had the optional second row entertainment touchscreens, which can display the navigation system, and you can connect devices through the USB or HDMI ports. Plus, there's a 120 volt outlet, so you can actually play a game console on those screens. Pull twice on a lever and the second row seat tumbles forwards to allow a large pass-through into the third row. However, the seat reverts back to its most forward position, hence why it looks like I have a lot more legroom in the Escalade than in the Navigator. In reality, it's the opposite, with the Lincoln having more third row legroom. If you do plan on utilizing the third row seats more often, both SUVs come in longer versions with more third row space and cargo capacity. Speaking of cargo, the Cadillac Escalade has more of it. Behind the third row, it has 722 liters versus the Navigator's 593 liters. With the third row folded via buttons in both, the Escalade has 2,064 liters versus 1,800 liters in the Navigator. And finally, with all rows folded, again with buttons in both, the Cadillac has 3,426 liters versus the Lincoln's 2,925 liters of cargo volume. The Cadillac Escalade starts at $90,348 Canadian. Barring any accessories, this fully loaded Sport Platinum trim costs nearly $132,000 Canadian. By comparison, the Lincoln Navigator starts at $97,000 Canadian, and a fully loaded Navigator will cost you a mere $107,000 Canadian. Both SUVs have the same traditional features that you'd expect from six-figure vehicles, such as soft leather upholstery, heated, ventilated, and massaging front seats, heated second row seats, heated steering wheels, power side steps, panoramic sunroofs, surround view cameras, though the Escalades are clearer and larger, head-up displays, a full suite of advanced driver and safety aids, wireless phone charging, and finally gimmicky exterior lights. Okay, I actually do like the puddle lights on the Escalade and the illuminated Lincoln badge. But the Cadillac Escalade has more tech than the Navigator. It can be equipped with night vision that will easily and quickly pick up and highlight pedestrians and animals before the headlights shine on them. There's also augmented reality for the navigation system. This overlays turn-by-turn navigation arrows over a camera feed in the driver's display to let you know which road to take. And in the center console, you'll find a little fridge for your champagne. But the most important gadget, at least in my opinion, in this Cadillac Escalade is Super Cruise. It's a hands-free, semi-autonomous driving system. It's not like Tesla's autopilot where you can just set a destination and the car will drive itself to that destination. You still have to be paying attention to the road ahead, but you can drive without touching the steering wheel or the pedals. It only works on certain highways though throughout Canada and the United States, so it doesn't work everywhere. But one of its coolest features is that it can actually change lanes on its own. You just turn on the indicator either left or right if there's a clear spot to either side of the car, and it'll change the lane for you. It's a really cool system and I really like it. It's just a shame that it doesn't work on more roads, but hopefully in the future GM will be able to map out more roads throughout Canada and the United States. So back to the original question. Does the diesel engine in the Escalade help or hinder it against the Navigator? Well, first and foremost, this is a fantastic engine. It has plenty of torque, it's really smooth, and obviously really good on fuel economy. And best of all, you can have it on any trim of the Escalade, and it's only a $50 difference between this and the 6.2 V8. However, I'm not completely sold on it just yet. You see, when you turn on your $100,000 Escalade in the morning, do you really want to hear this noise? Or would you much rather hear this noise? Okay, so I dubbed the sound of a Ram TRX on top, but hopefully you get the point that I'm trying to make. A diesel engine just doesn't evoke a feeling of premium quality in a six-figure SUV. At least to me it doesn't. The fuel savings are there, no doubt about that, but I don't know, a diesel sound coming from a Cadillac just doesn't really make sense. The Lincoln, on the other hand, well, it's a very good all-rounder. It's got more power than the 6.2 in this Escalade. It's actually a little bit more fuel efficient than the 6.2 in this. It's still really spacious, it's comfortable, and it's less expensive than the Cadillac. So it definitely has quite a few pros, even though it's not quite up-to-date technology-wise compared to the Escalade. But then again, the Escalade is a few years newer than the Navigator. So out of these two, which one would I choose? I really don't know. I can't pick because they both have their pros and cons. Honestly, I would probably choose this if it had a hybrid powertrain. But then if this had the hybrid powertrain out of the Lincoln Aviator with 630 pound-feet of torque, by the way, you can check out that video up here if you want to see it, then I would probably choose this. But as they are, I don't know, I can't make up my mind. Let me know in the comments, which one should I choose? And which one would you choose? Anyway, if you want to know more about both of these vehicles, I wrote a comparison review of them over on my website. You can find that link in the video description. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck, or it'll most likely be another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.